guys, welcome back to According To. I'm Megan.
And I'm Ciera. For this week's episode, Megan actually came up with this idea because...
Well, it was inspired by what we said.
Yeah, and you watched that or listened to that podcast, and I do not. So I've never even listened to an episode like this.
So basically the premise of the episode is we asked you guys to send us in some responses to what is the strangest, most out-of-pocket thing that someone has said to your face, because usually I feel like in society we kind of have a general agreement of like there are certain things that if someone's going to take offense to it, like you don't say that to them, but not everyone always follows the rules. So
I tried to look up where the phrase out of pocket came from, and I was struggling to find an answer. Do you have any in your mind right now? Like, do you have any rhyme or reason as to why the phrase out of pocket means what it means?
No.
Because how would you describe it to someone?
I would say that it's something where you're like, I cannot believe that person said that. You're just like in shock. Like the Pikachu shock open mouth face.
That's a good meme.
So we'll dive into that eventually. We also, of course, first of all, if you want to participate, you should follow us on According To, because that's where we always post different prompts and stuff. So if you want to participate, go follow us. Secondly, what was I saying?
I don't know. I was going to say...
we have our own stuff that we're going to share that we tried to like think of, you know, from our perspective, what's like the craziest, most out-of-pocket thing that someone has said to us. Mm-hmm. So we'll put those in. I don't know if we'll do that first or if we'll end with that, but
I was going to say, if you're watching the video version, we do have some Starbucks, but we're drinking from the wrong. I don't know if you can see the names on them, but like Megan is drinking from mine and I'm drinking from Megan's because we accidentally grabbed the wrong ones. And I just didn't want anyone to be confused.
They'd be like, wait,
we didn't switch places.
I thought this whole time
that Ciera had
when Megan introduced herself as Megan, that she was Megan.
So, not that really matters. I just wanted to point it out just in case.
Since I just was saying my name, you know, a couple years ago, there was someone that kept commenting on our videos that like I said my own name weird.
I do.
And
remember
so
that.
I don't really know if that's out of pocket, but like it really made me self-conscious of like
phase of time,
saying
right?
my name.
Yeah. Because so in this, I think it happens, it's related to like people's dialects and how they emphasize certain words. Because obviously, especially being on like TC2 and stuff, when we had Maggie also in our videos, some people are very specific about how you differentiate between Megan and Maggie because it's an E versus an A. I don't really think about it that much. I probably start them
to be honest, like we say Haley's name wrong. That we've been told. So apparently we just like don't say people's names right. Because we say like I just say Haley. If I'm just talking, like that's me saying it, not thinking about it. It sounds normal to me. It sounds normal to
and you guys probably listening, like it probably sounds normal, but it's when you really dive into the specifics of how people think their name should be pronounced, because everyone in our life says that Haley's name should be pronounced Haley.
Where like there's more emphasis on hey is like the first part of the word, and in me and Ciera it's like it's literally spelled Hale-E. Like
so we'll do hail as the first syllable instead of hey.
And that's just what seems right to me.
And we've been told by our parents and Haley herself that that is wrong. Obviously, day to day, no one like notices it. It's just when you get into the nitty gritty.
Sometimes I think about it, and then I'm just like, because we were at the lake house like just years ago at this point, and Maggie's friend was over, and her name is also Haley, and she was saying like, you say it weird, and I was just like, what? Like that's literally my sister's name. So and then Maggie was like, I thought like I've always thought you guys said it kind of weird.
Maggie
too.
Like jumps in, and she's never like brought it up before. That would have been out of pocket of her to bring it up.
So, and I think like because the comment critique for like me saying my own name was like they were saying that I kept saying like Megan, and I was like, I don't think I ever like say it like that because that's like pretty harsh. But I don't know. I've like made like sometimes I'm like so really focus on how you're saying the first part so it's not like too much of an A sound and like more of an E sound. Now it's like I don't think about it that much. But
you know what's annoying with my name, because it's not an uncommon name, but it's certainly not the most popular name. And I also feel like because it's 3 syllables, I have to really enunciate for people to hear me correctly the first time I say it. Because I get a lot of people being like, oh, Sarah? And then I always am just like, do I not say my name strongly enough? Do I not enunciate it well enough? So, especially like with older people who like are hard of hearing anyways, if I'm working with older patients, then I have to repeat my name sometimes. But whatever works. I've never been told that I say it incorrectly, so that's good.
Okay, let's start off with our weekly spotlights. I am going to say, I feel like I've really been like, I've just been in my reader era this week. Like, I've done a lot of reading, which has kind of been like fun and nice again. Like, I finished
like, like three books this week,
but like I didn't start all three of them. But like I finished. Let me see actually, because I for sure finished like I've read like 2 books in the past like 4 days maybe, like start to finish. So let me see like when I finished that. Well, okay, so the third one before that was the Rosie Project, so like that one was kind of like spaced out a little bit longer. But yeah, so I've just been like flying through books. Granted, like they've been like a little bit shorter, and romance like I can fly through, and we haven't really been doing anything because we were going to go to the lake this weekend, and then unfortunately like the weather just wasn't as nice as we would like it to be, so we kind of just have been chilling at home. And so I have been reading a lot of romance though, and as much as like I'm like I could keep going, but I decided, while I was kind of feeling like, okay, I could slow down, take a step back just like a little bit. Ciera's been really wanting me to read Billy Summers by Stephen King, and so that's what I have.
It has a romance subplot, kind of.
So we'll see how that goes.
I am glad to have finished. So we just did a whole ChatGPT book video. It's live by the time you guys are listening to this if you're curious about the books that we read. And I had to read 2 honkin' books for that video, over 600 pages, which is like, I don't really read books that long. Typically, I usually space it out. And I think I read like 1 book between those 2. So I'm happy that now I've finished both of those books. I can just read some shorter books and hopefully increase my book count a little bit, because you're a little bit ahead of me at this point.
I am. I think I'm at like 31 or 32.
And you always undershoot how many books you'll be able to read in the year.
Yeah, I have I'm at 32 books. I'm like 13 books ahead of schedule. Yeah.
Because your goal is 45. And like I made mine 50 when I first started, because I got Goodreads, I think, in 2021. My goal was 30, and I just hit that one. So then I've been upping it by 10 books every year. And so I made my goal for this year 50 books, which I should be able to do pretty easily. But I'm like, you got to give yourself more credit. You've always read like the same or more than me every year, but you always like undershoot your goals.
Well, I want to make sure I make it no problem. Let me talk about like the actual books I read, because I didn't say anything or any thoughts about them. So I remember a couple episodes ago we talked about one of our most highly anticipated reads was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and I did indeed read that. I loved the first part of the book. The end, I felt like kind of like bumped it down a little bit for me, just because like there were some unnecessary tropes that like aren't my favorite, and it kind of felt like a third act breakup type of thing. I don't love that, but like the first part of the book I loved a lot, so I kept it around to 4 stars. It was a 4 out of 5. And
that's my next read, I think.
I would still recommend it, because I still think the beginning is good. The Rosie Project, you can hear more of my thoughts about that, because that's the book I used for our ChatGPT video. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, or I think it's 3.5. And then this was a fun one. I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Center.
She's been waiting for that one
on my TBR for like 9 months, but it was always, first of all, never really available in the bookstores around me, but it was also only out in hardcover, and I prefer to get my books in paperback. And so I was like, okay, I've been holding out for it. Finally found it in paperback at Barnes & Noble. I was like, I have to get it. I've been waiting so long to read this book. And it's basically about a male actor who needs to like come back into town because he's got family stuff going on. He's kind of been out of like the spotlight for the past couple years, but he needs some security around him. And so the girl works for a security like bodyguard type of company, and she gets assigned as like the main person to his detail. And so it was just a very cute book, and I liked both of the characters, and it was a fun read. So 4 out of 5 stars. It wasn't anything like groundbreaking. I don't know the last book I gave 5 stars for romance, but then we have When in Rome by Sarah Adams, which I finished in 2 days, although it's like 305 pages, so it's like on the shorter side. And I also gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. This was also like a celebrity trope, because the main female character is a pop star singer, and she's getting ready to go on tour for like the next 9 months, but she's feeling like very burnt out and overworked, and so she's like, I need to just go relax a little bit. And so she's inspired by Audrey Hepburn's movie When in Rome to like go to the closest Rome she can find, which is Rome, Kentucky. And she ends up, her car breaks down, and like she ends up making it to town, but her car breaks down in the middle of the night, and she's got no cell service or anything, and it ends up being in front of the main male character's house. So he's offering to help her, and she's like, no, like you might be a murderer or something. But eventually she ends up staying in that town, and everyone in the town is kind of like trying to like push them together. And so it was another fun, cute read. I also give that one 4 out of 5 stars.
So, little book update for me. I haven't read as much because obviously my books have been a little bit longer than Megan's. I read Outlander and The Name of the Wind for the ChatGPT video. Both pretty different books from the usual genres that I tend to pick from. But I also read Happy Place by Emily Henry, which I know you guys have heard me talking about being an anticipated read for me. I gave it 5 stars, which also surprisingly, out of the 4 books now that she has released, it is my 3rd favorite, which shows how much I enjoy Emily Henry's books, that 3 of the 4 books I've read have gotten 5 stars. But yeah, I really loved it. I love Emily Henry's, just like, I love her characters, their banter. I like that her romances aren't just focused on the romance of the 2 main characters, but there's usually other side plots and relationships going on within the story. So there's like a group of friends that get together one last time at this, it's not like a lake house, but like it's on, I think, Cape Cod or something. I don't know. Or like the Hamptons. I don't know. But they like have one last get together, and then there's this couple within the friend group who was engaged, but then they like broke up but didn't tell their friends. And so they're like, okay, well, like we'll just pretend to be together for this week so we don't like make things weird for everyone else.
That's the most I've learned about this book. Like you right there saying the description, I'm like, I've kept my head like I didn't have any idea what's going on.
But yeah, I still, to me, Beach Read is on top, then Book Lovers, then Happy Place, then People Meet on Vacation. And I'm pretty firm in that ranking. I was debating switching Book Lovers and Happy Place, but as time has gone on, I'm pretty confident that that's still how I feel. So,
yeah.
And my next read is probably Yours Truly. And then I bought I think it's like a crime thriller type of book. It's 20 Years Later by Charlie Donnelly. And I think that's what I'll read after I finish Yours Truly.
I also keep like forgetting that we have 19 minutes too as like another book option for like physical books we have that like could break up my romance reads. I also bought Practice Makes Perfect. I bought that before When in Rome actually because I couldn't find When in Rome like in stores at first. But I was told to read When in Rome first, so I did that. And I'm sure I won't like wait too long before I read it, but it was funny because like I feel like I obviously knew it was a duology and that like the characters were from the same universe. And I had already like, I remembered hearing like, oh, this is about like her bodyguard. Like, but when I was reading, I was kind of like, this character here is like, he's barely being like introduced. But I'm like, he could so be like the next one that like they make a book about. And I was like, oh, she did that. Like that is what the next book is about.
Romance authors, when they have to like plant seeds of characters within their first book to be like, okay, you'll be the next one.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's like all the book stuff that we had to talk about.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to
newly anticipated books coming out soon that you're like, I need to read that. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to read Meet Me at the Lake.
Yeah, we talked about that being an anticipated read, and now we've heard that it was not very good.
So I'm not planning on reading it anytime soon.
Unless maybe like if someone close to us reads it and really likes it, maybe I'll read it. But right now, I don't know if I will.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wanted to talk about some more fun after work activities that we've been doing this past week.
We've been really doing like, it's just been good to finally like have something kind of like pre-planned or options of ideas. Like I started making, it's a short list, but it's a list nonetheless on my phone of just like categorized by days of the week and different things that we've got going on around town, just to like have ideas of things to do.
And like, it's just an option. If we want to stay home, obviously we can. But if we want to go out and do something, like we need some options available.
Yeah.
So, this past week, what all did we do?
Monday we stayed home because we had
things to do.
We had to podcast and we just
like
needed
a
to catch
day
up on stuff. Yeah. So we didn't do anything Monday. Tuesday, What did we do on Tuesday?
I feel like we did something.
I know we did something, but I'm having a hard time remembering what it was. Was it inside? Was it outside? 1 second. I don't have any. Oh, wait, we went to Barnes & Noble. That's what we did. I also bought the Love Wager. So,
Oh, yeah.
that'll be coming up shortly on my TBR.
There's a stand at the Barnes & Noble.
The weather wasn't great.
I took a picture of the table. It said, "Great books for dads." And I took a picture because the book that I was reading, which was The Name of the Wind, was on that table. And then Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was also on the table, which I read. And then it had some, had a Stephen King book that I was, thinking about reading at some point. And I was just like, books for dads, books for me. And I just thought it was funny. Wednesday, we went to the Zoo Brew. So the Blank Park
This is
Zoo.
a fun thing that probably isn't applicable to everyone, but
I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if other zoos do this. But after hours, so around 6 o'clock until 9 or something, you have to be over 21 to get in, and they just sell alcohol and other food there. You can walk around and see the animals like you normally would. And I was shocked. This was by far the busiest I have ever seen the zoo.
Holy cow. It was
I didn't even know
parking lot was open.
I know, that's what I was
going to
say.
I didn't know they had overflow parking, but they do, and it was full.
Beautiful day
was
for
great, and Ciera and I just went by ourselves, and I found out that I actually don't mind egg rolls. That's not what they're called, is it? Yeah, it is.
It is.
And so we had that for our dinner from a food truck, and then it was also just crazy
the animals
because
were so
the
active.
animals were they were out and about, which sometimes we go to the zoo and it's there's basically set exhibits that I'm these animals are never freaking out. They're always inside. So they have penguins, for example, and the otters, which again, they actually were not out, but they're never out. So I don't know what's up with them. And then I feel the lion is usually either way back in the corner or inside. The animals have free will and they can choose to be inside or outside. I just feel a lot of the times that I'd gone in the past, it's they're not outside and I'm paying to come see them.
By far my favorite exhibit, especially at the Blank Park Zoo, is watching the sea lions and the seals, because we have such a large little lap pool. It's not a lap pool, it's a round swimming pool for them. But I just love watching them go around in circles, and they'll get up. There's this island type of thing in the middle of cement where they can get up out of the water and prop themselves and look around. I just love them.
Yeah, it was just it was the first time we'd done that, and it was kind of nice just not having a bunch of little kids there. It was just all adults. And
we did see randomly this couple just making out by the sea lions, and it was weird. At first I was did they get engaged or something?
Why are we?
But
why
they
now?
didn't. So I don't know. That was interesting. And it looked like they were with other people. Did it not? So it was they were making out in front of the friends, which I thought was even weirder. I don't know.
The heart wants what it wants.
I guess.
On Thursday, well, also what I found out, this was new for me, which is interesting because Haley usually doesn't introduce me to new things. But we texted a picture of a tiger. I texted it to Haley and Maggie because I was go Bengals, haha, even though it was not a Bengal tiger. And then Haley said, she sent a text and it said TFTI. And I thought she typed something and she meant to type WTF, but it got changed around, so I didn't think much of it. But then she emphasized it, and I was I've never
what are you saying?
What? But then I actually I was pat myself on the back. I put it together in 2 seconds. That was thanks for the invite. First of all, I've never, if people have been using this, it's new to me.
I've never
seen people make that acronym, but I was kind of sorry, we can do it another time. So yeah, that was Haley teaching me a new acronym.
Thursday, we went to, there's a winery in Des Moines called Jasper Winery, and every Thursday during the summer they have a band come and play, and they'll have food trucks and stuff out. You can probably get some of their wine, and it's free. You just can bring a chair, blanket, whatever, and relax and enjoy the outdoors. It was actually that's a good thing to do if we ever want to read, because that's what we both did when we were there.
But then you feel you're doing something.
Yeah, reading in the presence of other people. I got a good chunk of my book read
Yeah.
when we were there.
Me too. And then I came home and did some more reading. And then on Friday we didn't do anything.
I did get off of work a little bit early on Friday.
We tried watching a new movie yesterday. We tried watching Vengeance because it was on Prime Video, and I just wanted to like watch a movie that I hadn't seen, which usually like I prefer watching movies I have seen, but it had decent ratings. Granted, Ciera and I like we weren't fully paying attention, especially like midway through the end of the movie. I feel like we're kind of like, like it wasn't like interesting enough where we were like
glued
in. And so the ending, I won't spoil it, but like it really took us by surprise, and I'm still confused exactly on what happened. So I was trying to like look up just like what happened, and I still could not like just give you a straight up answer.
Yeah, it was interesting.
The main character is podcasting, so it was like we have the same like thing that he was using to like go around and like record different people. So I was like, hey, that must mean we're doing something right.
Yeah, I don't know. It was supposed to be like a dark comedy or something, directed and maybe like written and produced by BJ Novak. I don't know what all of his hats were within the movie. So maybe if you're a fan of his work, you would enjoy it more than we did.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we get into
Let's start
some out-of-pocket things?
Do we want to start with our stuff or other people? I feel like we should start with our stuff.
So I have something related to just like twin things. So nothing generally specific that I can think of off the top of my head, but just being a twin, there are things people say, questions people ask, comments they make that you're like, that's not okay that you like ask that or say that. But because it's common enough, people don't have like the filter, I guess. And so people are always like, oh, like who's the prettier twin? Who's the smarter twin? And like
just like weird questions where it's like they can kind of like say like, oh, like I'm joking, like I'm just teasing, but you're still kind of like, well, how do you expect me to answer that? I'm just gonna stare and like chuckle at you to be like, haha, I don't know.
Like, how do you actually like when someone says that? Like, what do you say?
I quite literally just am like, I don't know.
I feel like I usually say I don't know,
similar, like,
or I'll say I don't know. It's probably the same. Cause like, what do you say to that? I think it has to have weird. You have to have a very specific personality type to be able to banter back to that kind of
feed
question.
Into like twin specific stuff because like I feel like it like entertains a lot of other people more than like it entertains me. Like I quite literally don't care to just like talk about being a twin all the time. Just like I don't know, but other people like find it fascinating. Like they wanna see your thoughts on XYZ thing, and I'm like, there's nothing interesting to share.
Like I feel like when people ask that and they're like, oh, who's like the prettier one, they want someone who's got like the personality to be like, oh, me for sure. Like, and I'm just not that kind of person to like say that. So they're barking up the wrong tree if they want some sort of like funny, witty response. Because I'm just like,
you're not getting it from me.
We kind of look the same.
Yeah. Similar to that, this was more so kind of like I thought this was just like weird and odd. And I don't know if this was like, because Ciera and I had like talked about this to each other, whether it was the same guy, I don't know, but this was like on a dating app. And I have like a couple pictures with like Ciera in my pictures just because like we're in a lot of same
Sometimes you like a picture of how you look and someone else is in it.
I also don't think it's a bad idea to like be like, I have a twin, by the way. Hopefully you can maybe like tell the difference between the two of us because that would be troubling if not. And so someone had like, I don't remember exactly what they said. And I don't know if you remember exactly what they said either. And I don't know if this was the same person or not because we didn't like compare. I was like not matching. But he was like, is it ever weird if a guy like matches both you and your sister? And I just was like, it like broke the fourth wall a little bit is like how it felt. I was just like, I feel like you can't talk about this. Especially like the very first thing you're saying to me. Like this is the first thing you're saying. You just want to know like how that works.
Or like in a similar vein, when I was trying to look at YouTube comments or TikTok comments for this podcast, I saw someone commented in some video like, would you and your sister ever date someone who like was interested in like both or either of you?
What? Someone said that?
Yes. I don't remember which video it was. But the issue is,
here's the thing, because I think we both agree if someone were to like one of us, it wouldn't be crazy for
or
them
like
to
have
like
interest.
have interest. Yeah. If someone had interest in either of us, like we're similar enough where like it's not crazy to
like
think,
flip a coin, you know?
Because to be honest, like I get it. If you don't know either of us that well, like either of us probably could be fine. But like
once you
we
make
live in a
decision,
society where that doesn't exactly fly. It doesn't sit well. Like you can't just be like, I've got 2 shots, 2 options. So
like,
you have to
if
pick
not one, I'll try the other.
It doesn't pick one. And that's all you get. This next one, I feel like I have a memory of like mentioning this on the podcast before, so like I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but if I have, it's been like forever ago. But this was something that my dad had said to me. I don't know if you like have any thoughts off the top of your head. Probably not. There's like a whole lifetime of things.
I don't know.
This was when I was going into my junior year of high school. And granted, Ciera and I, like, when it comes to dating and stuff, you guys know, our experience even to date, minimal. But especially, like, in high school, I just feel like we never were in, like, groups of friends that had, like, guys in them or, like, in terms of, like, having interest in guys. Like, I was just very...
Like, we certainly didn't talk about it.
Yeah. Didn't talk about it
family
to family
parents.
Or anyone else. It didn't, like, guys weren't really interested in me, so, like, nothing was happening. And, like, so the first guy that I actually, like, had a crush on and, like, he was reciprocating
like,
any
oh
interest. I was already just, like, very nervous and, like, had no idea how to proceed. So, and I was a junior in high school. I just feel like that's, like, I felt like I'm a late bloomer. Like, everyone else has already been doing this. And I was just, like, a ball of nerves. And so, obviously, typically in high school, it's not crazy to be dating or anything like that. So I was kind of like...
And, like, also, Haley had... Like, she for sure had a serious boyfriend her junior year of high school.
Yeah.
She had other, like, non-serious boyfriends
kind of like,
beforehand.
It was already, like, for Haley, like, that just, like, was her normal. And, like, I think our dad and, like, me too, like, I don't know if it was just, like, I had, like, this own perception of myself too, where it's, like, I feel like we were kind of just, like, forever locked in, like, daddy's little girls, like, mindset. And so I think that this is where, like, that can, like, this happened. But I was kind of like, okay. He had been asking, like, to hang out, and, like, I had already kind of just been, like, the thought of asking, like, my parents this is, like, mortifying to me for some reason. Like, I just was, like, so nervous and, like, weirded out to be, like, entering into, like, this stage. But I finally was like, what am I expecting to happen? Like, am I going to ever date anyone ever? So I finally worked up the courage to ask my dad. And I was like, my dad really, like, I'd rather ask my mom, but, like, we were at
it was a
his
dad
house.
weekend.
And so I was like, I just got to do it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And so I asked my dad, and I think the first thing he said was, that makes me uncomfortable. And I was like, well, I'm uncomfortable. Because I was just like, what do you say to that? Like, so I was like, okay, forget about it. Never mind. Granted, like, I think, because he came back to me, like, later that day and was like, I think I thought about it and, like, I didn't mean for that to, like, come off that way. So, like, if you want to, you can. But I was already like,
You're like, no.
So that stuck with me. That was a moment.
You're like, we can't come back from that. I have, let's see what my next one is. Okay. This is another comment related to my dad and Haley. It's not related to dating, though. So I have a mole, whatever you would call it, on my nose. It's on my nostril right here. I'm pointing to it on the video. And it's something that I had been self-conscious of, like, on and off. It's not super noticeable, so I truly doubt that just, like, in general, people that look at me pay that close attention to it. But it had been something that would bother me. And then I finally, I think, just decided, you know what? It's just part of my face. No big deal. Like, I have other moles on my face and body as well. Like, it doesn't matter. And I don't know where this conversation came from, but me, Megan, my dad, and Haley were all collectively together. And somehow I had brought up, like, oh, like I used to be, self-conscious of this, but like now I'm not. And so like it's good that I'm not self-conscious of it anymore. And do you know what both of them said? They're both like, that would bother me too much. Like I think I would shave it off or like cut it off or something. And I was like, oh,
Like, that's not what I was saying.
Okay. Should I be self-conscious of it? Obviously I didn't follow their advice to cut or shave it off, but I just was like, wow, I open up to you guys and say this vulnerable thing and how I'm no longer self-conscious, and you're both like, well, I couldn't deal with it. So I think about that one every once in a while.
Okay, this one is something that Haley said to us a few years ago, and I mean, I've never noticed it, and I still like don't really like notice this, but like your nose has bones in it, and so like right here, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or feel like you're really not seeing it, like I don't really see it either. But like there was one time where Haley was like, "Oh, like
Did you like
your
bump your nose or
glasses
something?
or like there's like some bumps on your nose that like are there," which I'm like, they've always been there. So I don't know what made her say something this day or what made it look so different that day, but I was just like,
My
these
nasal
like
bone?
right here, that's the bone in my nose. And she's like, oh, well, that would bother me. And I was just like, what? Like, I've never been insecure about my nose ever.
I feel like if anything, I've always been like very happy with my nose. Like, oh, I have a good nose.
So that was like that was just an interesting one where I was like, what the heck, of like today of all days, how, like, why bring it up today? What looks so different today? So I was just like, why would you say that? That would bother me, but as long as it doesn't bother you.
Mom has not ended up on this list of things, so
I don't have
good
anything
job,
for my mom either.
Okay. This next one it's not like out of pocket, but I was just trying to think of stuff that like I'm like, why do you keep saying that? So at the gym, there's this, not like he's not old, but like just an older gentleman that I tend to see around the gym. And I am like a yawner at the gym. Like I yawn all the time. And for whatever reason, I always seem to yawn when he's nearby, and he'll come up to me.
Something.
He'll come up to me and say like, no yawning.
Multiple times.
Like at least twice he's done that. And I'm like,
Okay. You know what you just made me think of?
what?
Do you remember in undergrad that one professor that like at least twice came up to us?
Oh yeah, trying to like get us to do his
Trying
like
to, like, be
dance
part of his,
twin
like,
research or something.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm just
just
trying to
trying
do
to
my
work out.
workout here. Like, I don't know what you want from me, but I don't want to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And also, this was one of the times that he said that. We were like, I was entering the gym and he was leaving, and I was like yawning as I was walking in. And you know how when you yawn, sometimes like you can't hear the best? So I was yawning, and I heard him like say something, and I thought he had like said good morning. And so I said like morning and back to him. But then as I was walking, I was like, I think he said like no yawning.
I think he said it again.
So then I was like, what the heck?
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I have one more, and it's one that's like this memory kind of came back to me. So like whether it's you'd consider it out of pocket, I don't know, but I just felt like we needed to talk about it again but I don't fully remember it, so you're gonna have to help me fill in the blanks. So this was when we were in our senior year of high school, and we had gotten our wisdom teeth out. That whole debacle with those two girls that we were working with,
Oh my God.
what was going on? Because I feel like in my memory, I'm like, they were like smearing our names a little bit, acting like we had done something wrong when we did not do anything wrong. So when Ciera and I got our wisdom teeth out, we got them out at the same time, and it was kind of a rough experience. Like, we missed a couple of days of school, and our school to work program that we were in, it was usually pretty chill, but we were in the middle of like a project of some sort with like two other girls from kind of like a separate branch of the school to work stuff. Like, they had like a different interest than like what our specific one was. And again, we were not there that day because we were recovering. And I remember waking up from a nap. I wish I had like, what was the big deal? What was the big deal that we had to get up out of bed
on a day that we had already decided that we didn't want to go to school, and we still got up and drove to meet someone at the mall for this stupid project?
And it was also like they were like, the teachers were there because they had to reconcile like this big problem that was going on with our group, and I was just
No,
like,
honestly,
I am so
if I could go back in
confused right
time,
now.
I'd be like, I'm staying home, actually. I just got my wisdom teeth out. I don't feel well.
And like, what was the issue?
I know.
I just like I woke up, I was bombarded with like our teacher from like our specific program, and like maybe a few texts from like the other girls that like we were working with. I don't know if it was like they said we weren't like doing our work
That's
or whatever.
what my thing, because it was like we're trying to work on some stupid app for some client about like different stretches for different injuries or like different exercises for different injuries. And I'm pretty sure that we had split up the work 4 ways, and that Meg and I were like, we're done with our work.
Yeah.
And they said that like we were not working on the project anymore or something. Like we wouldn't help with the rest of it.
That seems right. And like, guys, when I tell you I get my work done for a project, but I'm not doing the whole thing. We broke it. That's how every group project should work. You break it up and say, I'm going to work on this thing. And then collectively at the end, you all come together and like try and
Make sure it looks good and whatever.
And
It's
so
cohesive.
like, I mean, when I tell you I was flabbergasted that like out of nowhere they had like turned their backs on us, and like instead of coming to us with
They
any
went
concerns,
straight to like their teacher.
and then it got like so blown out of proportion. I just was like, we do not need to be doing this project anymore. It's not even that big of a deal. But that was like crazy.
Yeah, I need to like, now I'm like, can I look into that and find anything on that? That was a crazy time. Next thing that I have was, this is actually like a you thing that I thought of for you. But do you remember when you hurt your knee doing the...
Yeah.
Do you want to share the story?
Sure. So, if you have seen our family gymnastics challenge video, my knee's all wrapped up in that because when I was doing my full, like a week or two before, I had landed like right on my knee. Nothing, like the only thing that happened was like it got really swollen and bruised up, and I just like needed to let it calm down and simmer, but like no actual like injury happened. And so at the time we were also doing high school cheer, and my knee was all wrapped up as it was to try and like control swelling, and I was still like go to practices and whatnot. And when we were walking out of practice, or we were walking out of lifting, I don't know, but we come across like some of the other girls on our team, and she was like asking what had happened, and I was explaining what had happened, and she was like, oh, did you like scrape your feet like on the floor too? And I was like, first of all, scrape my feet on the floor? This a gymnastics floor? Anyways, but she was referring to the eczema on my feet, which
Was not a byproduct of the accident.
So then I was just like, that's honestly like, just any comment on eczema when I was growing up. People being like, what's wrong with your
Wasn't
feet?
there a teacher in the cafeteria
Yes.
that...
When I was a freshman in high school, I was wearing sandals, and a teacher said, what's wrong with your feet? Who?
If you ever have to start a question with what's wrong with blank about yourself, and it's a physical thing that cannot be changed in 1 minute, you cannot finish that question.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, eczema. Nope. There's probably a few that we are forgetting about, things that people have said about our eczema.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just glad that like our eczema has mostly healed up now. And so we don't get nearly as many comments.
Right.
Even now though, sometimes, because like on my ankles, that's where most of my bad eczema was. And so even in the areas that have fully healed, there's some like discoloration stuff there. Same with like Megan has
my
that
whole
as
like
well.
front of my feet is like white scars
And,
because
like
it just is
tan
what it
or
is.
anything. And so like I've had people comment about like just like the discoloration and stuff about like, oh, like what happened there, which doesn't bother me as much.
No.
But I'm still just like, maybe if you
care,
don't know
like
what's going on with someone's like health, physical well-being, anything related to their body, you don't have to ask.
Mm-mm. I don't have anything else on my list.
I have some TikTok and YouTube stuff. So being someone who posts on social media, it's no surprise that we'll get comments every once in a while that are like out of pocket. And so I honestly couldn't find as many as I was hoping for, but I have a couple. And then I just want to talk about comments and stuff in general. So I have one TikTok comment. This one was out of pocket, but it was also kind of funny. And so like it's a good laugh. But in 2020, I made a TikTok where I was like doing a lip sync to that, like, "What's up, my mammals? It's Sid the Sloth." Like, that was the sound that I was doing a dance and lip sync to. And one of the comments on that video was, "It's funny because they kind of look alike," referring to me looking like Sid the Sloth, which to me isn't like the worst.
Like, there's worse
Things to be compared to. I don't know, like, it's hard for me to say, like, oh, like, I can see where they're coming from, because I don't even know what that means, but, like, I'm not really offended by it.
Mm-hmm.
I also know someone commented, this was more recent, on a YouTube video, saying that we look like Tim Burton characters or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's, like, do our eyes, like...
Are they really, like, big?
Are they big and far apart? Because Sid the Sloth's eyes are far apart.
I don't really feel like your eyes are far apart.
I don't think yours are either. I don't know. I don't think our eyes are particularly big either. So I don't know.
Us like looking into each other's eyes, being like,
And then on YouTube, related to my hair length, there have been quite a few comments from just like different people throughout the years who are not a fan of the fact that I keep my hair shorter than Megan. So one comment that I had found was, "Seeing two women who look exactly alike, one with long hair and one with short hair, confirms and reaffirms I love women with long hair." And so I was like, okay.
There's also one person like worded it once as like, "Ciera, did you lose a bet to have to like keep your hair shorter than Megan?"
Like, so people could like tell us apart. And I was like, no
I
bet
did this
was
on
lost.
my own.
I do it all on my own.
So sometimes you gotta laugh, and then sometimes you're like, they commented that.
Yeah. But then just like in a general sense of things that I wanted to talk about with comments, I wish for my whole heart and soul that all of the girlies out there, if you're a girly and you're listening, please comment more things. I understand, we've talked about this before, I'm not like a big commenter on social media for like people that I follow, just like influencers and stuff and content creators. But I would love if the girlies would comment more on our YouTube videos, more on my Instagram posts, because there are more men than I care to have in my comment section. And if you ever see my comments and it says there's 20 comments, but then you click and you only see 8, it's because they're restricted. Because the second I see a man with like private profile, no profile picture, just like not a real account especially, they're getting restricted. Like, I don't care what their comment is, but I want my account to be for the girlies and not for the guys. So, if you're a lady out there, hype me up in the comment section or something. I don't know.
Okay. I was going to start moving into what you guys sent in. So I will start on the bottom if you want to start on the top. But first one I'm seeing is, I was at a doctor's appointment and the doctor called me, and I quote, "a dumb blonde." I would love more context into this situation.
Like, were they joking at least?
Right? Like, I'm hoping, like, they were just like, oh, like, having a dumb blonde moment, or, which, like, maybe still wouldn't be the best thing to say, but I'm just like, how else would that come up? This one also made me laugh. This one said, "My boyfriend said I had the body type of Jim Carrey in the live-action Grinch movie," which I'm kind of like, and you're still dating him? Not that, like, that wouldn't be, like, the single thing to, like, break me up from my boyfriend, but, like,
why would you say that?
Yeah, I'd be like, why did you think that was okay to say right now? You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Someone else said, and I feel like this is, like, a very relatable thing, but my mom's saying, "You look comfortable," instead of the expected cute. Or when people say, like, "You look tired today."
I hate when
you're
people
just
say
like,
that. And you're like,
and maybe you
I
are.
feel the same.
Maybe you aren't. But
It's just because
like,
it implies, like, you don't look the best. You got bags under your eyes.
Yeah. Someone else said, "I had a patient ask me if I have ever tried Proactive before, out of the blue." That would be like, I would be like, well, why are you asking? Is my skin not good?
Maybe they're asking because they're like, your skin is so clear. What did you use to get it like that?
Maybe.
Do you remember Proactive used to be like the it acne?
That was like infomercials
lotion
everywhere. You not find anything? This one was, my friend's gymnastics coach told her she didn't make regionals because her hair wasn't slicked. Can we talk about like high school cheer and like wispies and
Oh my god.
what was,
Nails.
like, the homecoming football game?
I should have quit right then and there.
I know we talked about this on the podcast before, but our junior year of high school, when we were on our cheer team, usually the coaches were pretty lax with like specific nail and hair rules. And so a lot of girls on our team had already gotten their nails done for homecoming. And so like they were like longer than they were supposed to be technically. But like they were really not good at doing like checks like that before games. But for the homecoming game, they did do checks. And so they were kind of like, cut your nails if they're too long. And all the girls were like, I'm not cutting my nails because I got them done for homecoming. And so they literally, like,
They all had to
swear
sit
half
out.
of our team sat out just like on the sidelines because they had their nails done and they wouldn't cut them. And then I was like, well, awesome. Now what am I supposed to do for this whole game?
Then you fell, like, because someone dropped you. And
Yeah. It was just not, it went into the column of like, file this for later when you're trying to decide if you want to try out for cheer again next year. And I decided not to.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's too many cons and not enough pros. It's time to hang it up and call it a day.
All right, well, that's all we have for this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give a thumbs up if you're watching the YouTube video and you haven't yet subscribed. Feel free to subscribe down below.
Tell your friends to give our podcast a listen. We would love to have more people, you know. I was going to like, act like I had like a name for you guys, but we don't. So just tell people to listen and give us a shot.
Okay, with that, we will talk to you guys next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.